I used to hate having a period. I have endometriosis and other fun things, so I used to say that if I could shove my hand in there and rip my uterus out, I would have. But that was before I learned how to heal my menstrual cycle and use it in my favor. And that is what I'm gonna teach you in this video. Before we continue, I'd like to introduce myself in case this is the first video of mine that you've seen. My name is Kata. I am Chilean by birth and German by ancestry. I'm autistic and I consider myself to be a life and death witch. On YouTube, I post any video that makes me happy to create, and then on Patreon, I post all about my practice of witchcraft. So if you're interested in that, consider subscribing. Let's dive into the video. My cycles used to be excruciatingly painful. I mean, there were 2 days out of the entire month that were tolerable. And then every other day of the cycle, I was either in pain, bloated, or in pain and bloated. Especially on my period. I mean, heck, endometriosis, right? My periods would last anywhere between 7 and 12 days, and every single day felt like an advent of pain. Now, the first step I took in order to be able to heal my cycle was actually understanding it. And maybe you've tried to understand it before, maybe you've heard about it, but it's just confusing. So just allow me to explain it to you in a way that will actually stick. All right, so this is probably a good time to mention that I'm actually a registered nurse and I work as a menstrual healer. So that's where this is coming from. This is actually what I do for a living, just so you know. So here's my question. Have you ever thought that the moon is chaotic? Because if you look at it one day, it might look full, and then the next day it's half full. One day it's in one place of the sky, and then the next day it's in another. So you might look at it and think, what gives? But if you actually take the time to sit down, look at the moon every single night and start registering its journey, then you will realize that she is not chaotic at all. She is cyclical. She has a growth phase, a peak phase, then a weaning phase, and then a moment where it's not visible at all. So now, have you ever thought that your menstrual cycle is chaotic? Guess what I'm gonna say about it. Have you ever taken the time to record the changes in your cycle and evaluate them over time? You've probably seen this chart before, and if you have, you've probably thought, this is so fucking confusing, I will never understand this. But believe me, once I finish my explanation, you will understand this like never before, okay? So let me tell you a little story. A story of how you, my friend, came to be. So this was you. Once upon a time, you lived surrounded by all of your potential sisters. And why do I say sisters? Because up until the moment where we have our sex differentiation, we are all female. We're all female at heart. We're all female by base. And you were just there chilling until one day you received a message from the brain. And that message said, one of you will be released from the ovary and will have the opportunity to become a person. But only one of you will be born, the one who grows up to be the biggest. This message is actually called the follicular stimulating hormone. Because you see, at this point of your existence, you were just a tiny oocyte inside a follicle, inside your mama's ovaries. So the brain sent the message, follicle stimulating hormone. Hormones are the messengers of the body, and the follicle stimulating hormone is basically a messenger saying, yo, follicles, be stimulated. So in return for receiving that message, you started to grow and grow and grow, and as you grew, you released your own message back to the brain, and that message is estrogen. Remember that all hormones are messengers, so estrogen is actually a messenger as well. Once your brain detected enough estrogen in the blood, it told the ovaries that the winner has permission to leave the ovary. And so you felt a lot of pressure all around you until you finally burst out of your mama's ovaries. You were released into nothingness. Like literally, the first thing you ever did was jump into oblivion. So if you ever find yourself taking risky steps, just know that you've been doing this from the very beginning. Now, some people think that the egg is released directly into the tubes, but that's not actually true. You're released into nothingness, and then the fimbriae from the uterine tubes attract you to it like a little octopus. Then you were just chilling, traveling down the tubes, and suddenly dozens and dozens of sperm started traveling toward you. These sperm both contained X and Y chromosomes. This is why it is said that the male determines the sex. It's just because women's eggs only have X chromosomes, which are the sexually feminine chromosomes. And then sperm can either contain an X or a Y chromosome. If an X chromosome sperm fertilizes the egg, then it will result in a biological female. But if a Y chromosome sperm fertilizes the egg, then that will result in a biologically male human, depending on a lot of other factors, okay? So at this point, you were the one that had to choose which one of these sperm fertilized you. Because people think that the egg is just there chilling and that the sperm does all the work, but nope, that is not true. In fact, the vagina, the uterus, all of these parts of the woman have different filters. Only the best of the best sperm can actually reach the egg, and then once there, the egg chooses which sperm fertilizes it. You chose your other half, and your genetic materials merged, giving rise to who you are today. Now, what happened to the follicle? That place where you used to be, where you were just chilling and then growing, which is the one that you can see right here. You see the little dot, and then it grows and it grows and it grows, and then you burst out. You see that? And then what happened to the follicle is it dried up, becoming something known as the luteal body. Luteal means yellow. So it's literally just a yellow body. And the yellow body secretes progesterone. When there is no pregnancy, after a couple of weeks, the luteal body just reabsorbs into the ovary and then the cycle starts up again. But when the cycle does result in a pregnancy, then the luteal body is responsible for sustaining the pregnancy until a placenta can develop. But in this case, your mama didn't menstruate for a very long time because you were already inside her. This is what the menstrual cycle is. It's our first story. It's the story that gets us to exist. It's a constant cycle of growth and rest, of life and death, and sometimes it leads to life itself. And when you take notice and you register every one of your markers of your fertility, you can understand the most important and wonderful mystery of the universe. You understand the cycle of life. Every single one of these moments that happen in your body leave markers that you can actually observe and register. So now let's look at this little diagram again. Here we have the two phases, follicular and luteal, and they are divided by ovulation. I want to mention that even though in this diagram we have days 1 to 28, that is only for educational purposes, your cycle may or may not last 28 days, and that is fine. So here we have the period on the first few days. And first, let's put our attention into the little white line. The white line is the follicular stimulating hormone, the first messenger of the brain that we just talked about. And then if you see the blue line, that is estrogen. So as FSH increases, estrogen also increases. And why is there so much more estrogen than there is follicle stimulating hormone? Well, because FSH stimulates more than just one follicle, and all of these follicles are releasing estrogen into your blood. Once the brain has enough estrogen, once it detects there's enough estrogen, it releases luteinizing hormone, the one that is here in yellow. And that is the hormone that triggers ovulation, after which we get progesterone. Can you see how the green line, which marks progesterone, is only present in the second half? That is because, as I mentioned, progesterone is secreted by the luteal body, and that does not exist until you ovulate. So that's why it's called the luteal phase. So what you can see here is actually a menstrual chart. This is like what I do for a living. I teach women how to chart their cycles so that they can understand what's happening. By looking at this chart, you can tell when you ovulated, when you're most fertile, how your progesterone is behaving over time, same as your estrogen. It's just such invaluable information. Our ancestors used to look up at the moon and marvel at its beauty, at its cyclicity, and now we get to marvel at the cyclicity of our bodies because we have tools now to understand it like never before. Can you imagine what would be possible for you if you deciphered your cycle and learned how to use it? Now that you understand how your cycle works, let's talk about what it actually means for you. Your cycle isn't just there for you to make babies. Otherwise, anybody who doesn't want babies could just yank their reproductive organs out, which I really don't recommend you do because they actually have other functions other than reproduction. Your sexual hormones, estrogen and progesterone, actually act in every single tissue of your body in your favor. I'm just gonna give you one example, just one. And it has everything to do with your mental health. In the first stage of your cycle, when estrogen reigns, estrogen acts in your brain to actually make you feel happier, more energized, more prone to socializing. And when you have already ovulated and progesterone takes the stage, that makes you feel more calm. This is because estrogen acts in dopamine receptors and progesterone acts in GABA receptors, which GABA receptors are the same ones that get triggered when you take benzodiazepines, for example, which is anti-anxiety medication. This is only one small example, and there are millions. And by the way, I want to take this moment to say, without judgment, okay, this is just a fact. If you are on any sort of contraceptive pill, the pill acts by canceling out your cycle. That blood that you have is not actual menstrual blood, it's another kind of bleeding. And all of this goodness that I've just said about estrogen and progesterone is not happening for you. You do not have all of those benefits. This is what your hormones look like fluctuating when you actually have a menstrual cycle. You see how the estrogen goes up and then the progesterone goes up. Yes, we have all of that good stuff going on. And this is what your cycle looks like when you're on the pill. These lines that you see up here are actually the synthetic versions of progesterone and estrogen, and then these lines down here are your actual hormones. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad about taking the pill if you are taking it. I am just telling you this because
doctors don't.
And then people are going left and right without any of these amazing benefits to their bodies, and they don't even know. They don't even know. Now, every single phase of your cycle can be harnessed and used in your favor. And I swear to you, once you start to do this, you will never want to live the way you were living before. I know I don't. Let's start with the follicular phase, but we're gonna skip the menstrual part and start right like about when your period ends. So like about a week into your cycle. Even though your cycle isn't just there for you to have babies, it's a lot easier if we think of it that way. So just think that your menstrual cycle is your body conspiring for you to get pregnant. So when you're in your follicular phase, as we said earlier, your brain is stimulating your folliculi so that one of them will be released in ovulation, right? So your body is conspiring for you to go out there
and get laid.
So what does that mean? It means you're gonna feel more energized, you're gonna feel more social, you're gonna need less hours of sleep to function, you're gonna need less food to function. This is the perfect time to execute projects and ideas. But heed my warning, this is not a good time for empathy. This is a time that's just like,
go, 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 go.
You're not gonna be all lovey-dovey, ooey-gooey understanding in this cycle. If I were to choose tarot cards to reflect the energy of this phase of your cycle, those cards would be the Fool, the Three of Rods, the Three of Cups, and the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is the boss ass bitch. She means business. She has no... Okay, I think this is a Chilean saying, but she has no hairs in her tongue. I don't know if that works in English. Basically, we say sin pelos en la lengua. It means like no filter. You just say it. So I'm just gonna say, if you are follicular and you are with a friend who is having a hard time, or your partner's having a hard time, or anybody's just sad,
reserve the right to remain silent.
Because chances are what you have to say is not going to be very helpful in this situation. Just zip it. As you reach ovulation, your energy continues to increase and you have now reached your creator phase.
your sexual phase.
This is a perfect time for exploration, for self-pleasure, and just for connecting with your sensuality. Sexual energy is the most powerful kind of energy we have access to as humans.
This is literally where life comes from, alright?
So when you are ovulating, like peri-ovulatory, you are at your absolute most powerful. This is the time to be manifesting all of your desires. I can equate this to the tarot cards of the Sun, the Star, Four of Rods, the Lovers, and the Nine of Coins. After ovulating, progesterone takes the stage and you enter a time of calm and creativity. This is the perfect time for restful activities and creative activities like reading, knitting,
Binge watching TV shows.
all of your creative projects. And also, this is the perfect time to connect with your emotions. I want to take some time now to talk about PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which I have, of course. So many people, when they're in this stage, they feel not themselves. They feel like the weight of the world is upon them. And I just want to make a quick note about what is normal and what is not normal. Is it normal to be more irritable and more sensitive at this stage? Yes. And actually, you should use this in your favor. We are constantly so busy, so just,
Go.
that we don't give ourselves the time to really connect with our emotions, to really understand what is going on with us. And that is what this stage is for. This stage is like your body taking all of this stuff that's been in your heart, just deep in there, buried, and it hands it over to you in a silver platter, and it says,
Hey, it's time to deal with this.
so don't ignore it. Pay attention to it. This is the perfect time to journal your ass off, okay? I recommend that every time you're premenstrual, you just, maybe if you don't like journaling, just outline. Like, I feel this, I feel that, I think this. And then maybe in a couple months, you can look back to those and see what recurring themes are happening. So say, for example, that you constantly feel like you want to quit your job. And like every other phase of your cycle, you're fine with your job, you're happy with your job. But then every time you're premenstrual, you just keep thinking, I want to quit, I want to quit, I want to quit. And you keep seeing that recurring theme coming up in your luteal phase. Well, that is your body telling you your actual truest desires. This is like a little window into your subconscious desires. So pay attention to it. Now, what is not normal? It is not normal to feel depressed, to feel like your brain has been kidnapped by some pessimistic asshole. It's not normal to feel like you can't get out of bed, like you can't shower, like you can't do your everyday activities. It's not normal to think about yourself. None of these things are normal. If you experience any of these symptoms, then you might have PMDD, and I recommend that you get on medication for it. I'm on medication for it, and I'm not ashamed to say that. This is a matter of hormones, not a matter of willpower. Okay? Okay. The tarot cards that represent this part of the cycle would be the Moon, the Hermit, and the High Priestess. It's just a very good time to look inward, do some shadow work, and listen to your intuition. And last but not least, we have reached menstruation. Menstruation is a time for rest, okay?
Look at nature.
We see the seasons, right? We have winter in the seasons, a time where every tree that does sheds their leaves and everything dies and everything gets dark before it can resurge, right? We see the moon gets dark before it gets full again. Animals hibernate. Like, you can't expect to be at your 100% all the time. Like, if you don't reflect on your premenstrual phase and then rest in your menstrual phase, then you're not gonna be able to bloom and fully explode in your follicular phase. You feel me, girl? The two cards that I would definitely say define this phase, the menstrual phase, are the Four of Swords, just rest, and death. Because life is about cycles and things need to die before they can be reborn. Now I want to talk about how to use these different energies for magical workings. But before I do that, I want to mention that I have an ebook. It's more like a workbook that you can work through to connect with your different phases of your menstrual cycle. And you can download it in the link below for $7.99. So enjoy it. The menstrual cycle can be very much equated to the phases of the moon. They're pretty much parallels. But one might argue that aligning with your menstrual cycle instead or on top of the energies of the moon is even more powerful because this is your inner cycle. This is within you. And if you're lucky, your menstrual cycle could even align with the phases of the moon. This actually happened to me for the past 2 cycles for the first time in my life. And I believe it's because I've been very, very dedicated to my craft these past 2 months. So that might have something to do with it. So let's start with the menstrual phase. This corresponds to your dark moon. So this is the perfect time for self-love and self-care magic. We are shedding the lining of our uterus, and therefore, this is the perfect time for shedding stuff. Take a salt bath. Remove all of the
Icky pooey.
energy and residual
Guck.
from the month. Take this time to really shed all of your fears and your frustrations and do some shadow work. Then we go into our follicular phase, which is perfect for like expansive magic, abundance spells, prosperity workings, just attraction in general. Then we get to ovulation. This is your full moon. This is the time that you should be doing your most powerful spells.
Look, I want to say something.
There are people that say that you should manifest while you're having an orgasm. Have I tried?
Yes.
Have I succeeded?
No.
Because when I'm in that zone, I'm not thinking about like, oh my gosh, I want abundance. I'm just thinking, nirvana. But you can try. Then we go into our luteal phase, which is great for creative magic and also for banishing. I recommend using this time for like not magic, like knitting and stuff or coloring. Also, it's a great moment for candle magic, cord cutting spells, stuff like that. And journaling. Listen, I have barely scratched the surface with this video. And I realize not everybody has a good relationship with their cycle. I didn't used to. This takes time, but I beg you, give your body a chance to show you what it can do for you. You'll be so surprised. And just know that contraceptive pills are not the only or the best alternative.
As much as doctors like to give it to everybody for every reason under the sun.
Feel free to reach out with me, okay? Feel free to reach out to me in all my social media platforms. And may your gods bless you.